All right. Well, thank you all for tuning in to something new that we're doing that's called the Afterword. And here's our hope with this is that each week in our new series called Formed, we're looking at various spiritual practices that we're calling practices of love for the life of the world. The reality is we're going to talk about 7 different practices. We're going to have, obviously biblical discussion or teaching really on that. But we thought it'd be really helpful to have then some discussion afterwards each week. And so Thursdays at noon, we're going to gather for the next 7 weeks and be able to reflect back on what was taught, what was the particular spiritual discipline or practice. But you guys don't need to hear more of my thoughts. We get to invite other people into the conversation. And so today I'm really excited. We have Lauren McLain, who is our worship director. And so, Lauren, thank you for hanging out today and being on the first episode. So there we go. We also have Tracey Clairmont, who is our youth director, runs our women's studies, and so thank you for being part of it as well. So the inaugural Afterword podcast. So if you caught the sermon last week, we introduced the first spiritual practice, which was simplicity. Or another way we talked about it was renewed owning, meaning like we all have possessions, we all have things that the Lord has given to us, and what does it look like to not be actually owned by those things, but rather enjoy what the Lord has given us to enjoy, steward well, to actually use what we've been given, as we're talking about in this whole series, like for the good of other people. And so as we get going, one of the things that I think will become evident and I think we need to become aware of is that all of us, we are constantly bombarded with advertisements, marketing. I mean, even in the realm of simplicity, which probably we'll talk about this a little bit, there's like all the best practices even of like how to simplify, and then suddenly it can start to feel not very simple and overwhelming, and now I'm stressed out about the topic of simplicity, and then just on and on it goes, and suddenly we just don't know what to do. And so we are going to talk, hopefully very just honestly and candidly about what our experience has been with this. The 3 of us are not here. We didn't put this together. Like, who are the 3 people that are most dominant at simplicity? We've got this all figured out. Actually, I know I don't. And these 2 might have it all figured out, and so I would just let them talk. But we hope to just share a bit of like, where are the points of resonance? What could this look like? Some of these are always going to be aspirational, like what we hope to be growing in. But yeah, we are bombarded with all kinds of messages. There's something out there in the world that creates, I think, a lack of contentment, and things can get really complicated really quickly. And I know, Lauren, we were talking before, you had something that you had run across this week and just kind of thinking on this topic and researching, and I just thought would be maybe a helpful way to even get into the conversation more. So I'd love to hear what it was that you found.
Yeah, so I was just looking at like, what does it look like to spiritually practice simplicity? And so I know it's a struggle for me. I like things organized, I like things simplified, but when it comes to my spiritual walk, what is that supposed to look like? And so I did some just quick research and looked at Gospel Coalition, and it came up talking about the Shema, about love the Lord your God with all your heart and all your soul and on your mind. As I was reading through it, I was just kind of grabbed by this one quote that they said, and they talked about how that Shema, the love your Lord your God, how simple it is. It's marvelously simple, challengingly simple, terrifying, and life-giving in its simplicity. God's character as one and whole and simple demands a response of undivided and simple love. And I think about even my own spiritual walk, like how often am I so divided in even up on stage doing worship? Like sometimes it's hard because I'm sitting there trying to compartmentalize all the things I'm supposed to do, where God calls me to be undivided, to worship him wholly and simply, regardless if I sing a wrong note or whatever that looks like. And even reading the Bible or things like that, like how does that come together to look more unified instead of I have to do all these little things and then it brings me to Jesus, where it should just be a straight line to Jesus. So that was just something that I think for me was super challenging, of realizing that it should be undivided. It should be simplified. It's terrifying because I don't do it well, but a good reminder.
For sure. No, and I love that word you use of that undivided. And I mean, I think that's